So we're going to continue tonight, and finish the halachos of kashering the kitchen. We'll do a very brief recap of this year because it was a few weeks ago already because we had a break for Purim in between, and this year actually didn't end up getting recorded on YouTube at all. Just ended up getting deleted. So we're going to do a very brief recap just of what we spoke about that time, the counters, the sinks, and those things. And then tonight, hopefully, we're going to finish the whole kashering of the kitchen, talking about ovens, microwave ovens, stovetops, with that, and hopefully finish with the kitchen. Then next week, Bezrat Hashem will be the last week of these shiurim. We'll talk next week about like b'dikas chametz and the halachos of the seder, and then off to Poland.
Before we start kashering the stovetops, can I just ask you about the rug? Because I couldn't remember do we have to actually physically get someone to come in and shampoo it? Or
I mean, you just can't eat anything that's in there. In other words, there's no halacha there's no halacha of food in there. I mean, it's not a kazayas of food, and it's not, it's only if you've got the kids are going to crawl there and eat it and things like that you have to actually shampoo it. If you don't shampoo it, so then any food that falls there on Pesach, you should wash off or anything like that. But there's no halacha that
shake it really well, hoover.
You can just any food that falls there, you have to just wash off or anything. There's no halacha that you have to shampoo the carpets.
Can you imagine it being written in? You must shampoo your carpet.
That doesn't come up. Okay, so no problem. So we spoke about kashering the kitchen a few weeks ago. And just the shiurim should be לעילוי נשמת אסתר יהודה, So we spoke about kashering. We spoke about the basic idea of kashering, right? Is that the way that the taste gets into something, we have to extract it, so we have to do this getting ready for Pesach. So just a very, very quickly overview what we said. We said countertops and tables and things like that. First of all, if it's a material that can be kashrut, I looked into a few things. Who asked me? Caesar stone.
Yeah.
People asked a few different things. I looked into it. There's nothing that's not a machlokas. Let's put it that way. I looked into it. Every single one.
This is Caesar stone.
So Caesar stone is, for Pesach also is not according to everybody that you can kashrut. Now, there's a post say I would recommend covering rather than kashering these things personally.
It's very unfortunate because today on Facebook people were talking about it. They were like, "Yeah, you can."
Yeah, you can. I'm not saying you can't. I want to make it clear. I'm making this very clear. Please don't misunderstand me. I want to make this clear. I'm not saying you cannot kasher it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there's none of these surfaces that is not a subject of machlokas. I was just looking in the past few days. Rosh Feinstein says this. Including granite. The way the granite that we have today, with stuff mixed into it and things like this, especially for Pesach. I'm just telling you from the research that I was looking around today. I'm not saying you can't. There are poskim who say you can kasher granite. There are poskim who say you can kasher Caesar stone. There are poskim who say all these things. But there's machlokas about it all. So if we're talking about Pesach specifically, I would recommend covering. When it comes to these things, if this is what you've been doing and you have a psak to kasher it, I would eat in your house. I would eat in your house. I'm not just but I'm just saying that all of these things ended up being was just looking around today. But okay, anyway, so if it's a material that you want to kasher, again, I'm not saying you can't kasher. But if it's a material that you're going to kasher, so we have to wash it down very, very thoroughly, scrub it down very thoroughly in all the cracks and all those areas. The areas that you can't get to, you have to spray with some sort of an abrasive.
If you're just covering it, do you need to kasher it underneath?
No, if you're covering it with what? If you're covering it just with like tin foil.
No, with like a thick plastic.
No, if you're covering it with thick plastic, you have to wash it very well.
I think you do because the plastic always comes off.
A thick sheet of plastic?
Yeah. The sellotape sometimes comes off, you mean, or something.
Yeah, it comes off.
Are you talking about like contact paper or
plastic that you put on the
tablecloth that you buy on the
roll. I see.
Like that type of thing. It comes off all the time.
It ripped?
Sellotape.
No, the plastic doesn't, but the duct tape that you would stick down.
Sometimes it gets a bit wet.
So the only issue is going to be is if there's a few things. We went through this. There's two issues. There's one issue is like the taste that's going to go up from the counter into the food. So we said for that there would have to be liquid in between the counter and the foil, and then between the foil and the pot. So we said that that's something that can definitely happen, and that's why we recommend to kasher if you're going to only be covering with something like tin foil. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
I think that is the same.
It's the same thing. Then I would kasher also. So I would kasher also, and then put that on, and then that's fine. I would kasher and put that on. If you're talking about like thick sheets of plastic, some people have big, flat.
The thick plastic you
cover your showers.
Okay, that's the thing. And it
You're
covers.
talking about like a plexiglass.
Right, the plexiglass is something that you would not even need to kasher
Right,
underneath,
'cause it doesn't move.
or
Right.
plywood or something. I mean, when we grew up, we had
So you would,
plywood
like, fit
panels
into
on
your
the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So then you wouldn't need to kasher at all with these types of things. So we recommend kashering and then covering with these types of things. Okay, we spoke also about the sink. That the sink also you kasher through pouring the hot water. You have to also wash it 24 hours before. We spoke all
Wait,
the
can you
different
go
parts.
over that for a second, the 24-hour thing?
It has to be washed very, very thoroughly. You know,
Right.
whatever the utensils has to be washed, completely thoroughly, with everything, all rust and everything scraped away. Anything that you can't wash away, or if there's a stain there, so then you should use some sort of abrasive cleanser just to make sure that it's not edible at all. And then it has to sit that way for 24 hours without being
24 hours
used.
you can't use your sink before you
can't
kasher it?
you
Or
can't,
using only hot water.
Well, you definitely can't use it for hot water. You're using it for hot water, that's going to reset the
Right.
whole thing.
Right.
L'chatchila, you can't even use it for cold water. You're really not supposed to use it at all. If
See,
you
that's
need
the
to use
kind
it,
of-
it's a difficult thing. Yeah, but you're not
What?
supposed to use it at all because.
You need to wash your hands.
yeah,
What do you do for
yeah,
those
yeah.
24 hours when you don't have
Certainly
Pizza.
not for food. I'm saying, yeah, you have to. This is the time when you're turning over your kitchen.
Oh, wait.
If you're rinsing off, certainly not for food. Certainly not for food, for cold food or anything along those lines. You're talking about just like rinsing off your hands or something along those lines. It's not going to reset the timer, but l'chatchila, you're not supposed to use it at all. Because think about it. Maybe you're washing your hands. You were dealing with your kid's sandwich, and then you just went to rinse off your hands in the sink without thinking about it. So obviously, if you're very careful, like I said, it's not going to reset the timer on the 24 hours. But l'chatchila, you shouldn't be using
So
it at
Thursday morning you're turning over your kid, you're
kashering your sink. Then by Wednesday morning,
Wednesday morning, that's
you
it.
should
No.
plan on not using it. Yeah, again, for using it for cold or for it's not going to undo it. But you should not count on using your sink regularly during that 24-hour cycle. I mean, you shouldn't. You should be set up for it in advance. Okay, and then we said also you have to make sure that you pour on all the different parts of the sink, the spout, the handles, to switch the little faucet the thing. That little piece that's in there. It's very, very hard to thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes my younger kids use the toilet sink, the bathroom sink, for like if they've got dirt on their hands, or even if they've gone to wash their hands after challah. So does that need to be kashered? I mean, we're not going to eat.
No,
it.
you're not doing any food. No, that's fine. Anything that's not coming in
Could
direct
be
contact with
toilet.
food is not
No,
doesn't need to be kasher.
That's obviously.
No, we said even washing cups, even the washing cup that you keep
It should
out in
just
your
be
kitchen.
cleaned
Yeah,
really
it's have to be
well.
cleaned
On the
very well.
newer sinks that have these hose things.
Yes, you have to pull it out also.
No, but you can't change the thing on the
Clean as
top. It's not
thoroughly
like
as
the old.
possible.
It's not like
No,
the
there's
old
always
sinks.
a little thing, in the inside over there. I mean, I just. we have-
No, there's not.
Oh, I see. Okay, I don't know.
There's
then I don't
not.
know.
You said
Oh, I
last
see,
week
like
we
this
just
one,
have
that's
to
what you're
clean
saying.
it as
So
thoroughly.
if you can't, then you have to clean it very
You
well.
can soak it.
and,
You can pull it out and soak it in like hot water.
yeah,
It
so
doesn't,
you
it doesn't have
get this on the.
Yeah, no,
over there. Okay, I don't know.
Fancy, fancy Rochelle.
Okay, you got it. Okay.
No, or even have look like a
Okay.
shower head.
It doesn't.
No, so if it doesn't come out, then you have to just wash it very, very well and use bleach or something in there.
Because
And,
last year I remember
no, if you can't switch it, you can't
force
switch
it,
it.
and I'm like, I'm going to break my tap.
Yeah, no, if you can't switch it, you
So
can't
I
switch
just-
it. And,
I just cleaned it.
okay. Okay. Then we spoke also about that. This is all irui. This is all kashering through pouring hot water. Then we spoke also about hagala. Hagala was kashering a pot, right? Boiling up a pot of water, or putting things into the pots. Again, we have to clean the utensil, have it be totally clean for 24 hours, and not used at all. You boil up the water till it's a very strong roiling boil. If we're talking about the pot itself, so you have to boil it up all the way to the top. They said you have to have like a hot rock, or somebody used a teapot, a brick or a teapot or something that has been on the fire that you're going to submerge in, and that's going to push the water over the edges, and that's going to kasher your pot for you. And then we said so too, if you have a pot of boiling water, so putting in knives and forks and spoons and these types of things, that's how you kasher them for Pesach. And he said, well, okay. We said if you're going to go to the people who are kashering at the street corners, you just really have to make sure that the water is really boiling, because sometimes it's not. I've been there and it was not hot enough to kasher.
It's so dangerous.
No, they have a big pot there. It's open. I'm saying, but you just have to make sure that it's. Sometimes they'll do it, and it's just like little bubbles coming up. That's not good for kashering. It has to be a real boil. That's
And
going
at home in your own, it has to boil over.
I'm sorry.
At home.
For a pot,
yeah.
yes, yeah, it has to boil over the edges of the water, and it has to boil over boiling, which is why the thing that you submerge into it to displace the water, right? Archimedes, right? This whole thing. The thing you put in there has to be hot so that it doesn't cool off the water in the process. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you get that hot? How do you get the
Well,
rock?
so the way they did it in the times of Shulchan Aruch, but what I've done at home, and somebody here just had a good idea, that we spoke about in 2 weeks, but I took a rock from outside, you just go find a rock about this size, and put it on the stove top and light the fire and let it heat up for a while. And the way that I actually did it, I used 2 hammers. I didn't have tongs that were big enough, so I used 2 hammers to kind of like pick it up and drop it into the pot. It was a big event in the family. It was a fun event. Everyone's watching. You have to turn off the fire right away.
I was
because
going to say
yeah,
it didn't,
put-
turn, it didn't
yeah,
put out the fire.
No, it does. It puts out the fire. Just turn off the gas right away. As soon as you just put it in, then turn off the gas. You wear gloves. You wear like cooking gloves. You know what I mean? You have to be very careful. All the kashering, you have to be very super careful. Yeah, so Hatzalah gets plenty of calls from pouring hot water and all these things. To be very, very careful. Very careful. Tin foil, you have to be careful. You can't cut on the
I
tin
have a
foil.
barbecue grill like this, like a barbecue grate from they use with coals.
Right. Oh, so we're going to talk about the type. We didn't get there. We're
Oh, we didn't? Okay.
Is there
Okay.
somebody in Jerusalem that actually comes to do it for you? Because in London there's one
I'm
rabbi.
sure there are. I'm sure there are.
I'm sure you
That's
have
already
all the
found
Babbage.
somebody.
Yeah, the Babbage
the
says
Babbage.
it all around.
I have a question.
to find out
When
how
you
many
kasher your
charges
counters and you're using a kumkum,
Like just to do the
and you
kashering.
bring
all
it
the
up to a
cleaning.
boiling boil,
No.
so then you
Right.
do that. I always wonder that, like, the water that I started with over there, and then I'm going like this, and when this water then reaches that's sort of dribbling down that way, if it's still...
Well, so the halachah
So I
says
start again from where
right. You have to do it like
finished.
section by section, right?
Yeah.
As we said,
That's what-
first of all, it mentions that you should wear a glove. You should keep it boiling longer than just the regular boil. Like you keep your finger on the button, and that'll in other words, when it clicks off. So
Right.
don't let it click off. Let it boil more and more, and that way, even when you take it off, it'll remain boiling. Good for a
Okay.
good few seconds. And then you have to do it in sections. So you can't just
Yeah,
use
I
one
see.
kumkum for the
Yeah.
whole thing. You have to do one section pouring back and forth, and then rinse it if you can in cool water and dry it, and then go to the next section and the next section. Just have to do it piece by piece. Same thing with the sink. Starting from the outer section, then going
Right.
lower. And obviously, not pouring onto itself. Okay, so all of this that we've been talking until now has been kashering through hagala or irui, which is all liquid kashering, right? When the taste got in there through liquid, so we're extracting it with liquid. But there's a whole other area of kashering, which is the process of libun. Libun literally means whitening something, but it means making something on fire, right? Making it white through fire, white hot is called libun. And libun is also a process that allows us to take something that has treif or chametz or taste in it, and get rid of that taste. Now there's two ways of doing libun. There's 2 different types of libun, and they have different halachos, so they work for different things. The one that most of us are familiar with it's called libun chamur, which means like serious libun, hardcore libun, libun chamur, extreme libun, right? Libun machmir, right? So what that is, the halacha is, it has to be a nitzotzos nitazin mimenu, that like sparks are coming from the thing. It means you're really burning something completely. And the halacha by libun chamur is not kashering. We're not extracting the taste. We're burning the taste right where it is. Right? No, there's no extraction of the taste that went in there. And because of that, because it's a different process, some of the halachos that we learned by Hagala do not apply by libun. Like you don't need to clean it for libun, right? Because you're burning the whole thing. Anything that's going to be there is going to end up getting burnt off anyway. Yeah, you don't need to wait 24 hours for libun, right? If you're doing libun on a grill, it doesn't need to have been waited 24 hours. And then just one second. And then thirdly, you could do libun even on Pesach. Right, we mentioned kashering you can never do on Pesach because as soon as you boil the water in that pot, we said on Pesach we don't have a heter of Eina ben Yomo, or we don't have a heter of Bittul B'Shishim, and therefore as soon as you start boiling the water in the pot, the water itself is going to turn into chametz. But libun, since we're just burning the chametz where it is, so all these 3 halachos don't apply. So technically, what this means is if you have a grill and you didn't kasher it for Pesach and you didn't plan on using it, and all of a sudden it's a beautiful Chol Hamoed, and you want to use your grill, you would be allowed to. You wouldn't use it as is, right? But you would be allowed to do libun chamor, get a blowtorch or whatever, and do libun on the grill on Pesach and use it then. Yeah,
Question: oven that's pyrolytic, is that
don't know what the
considered?
word is. What does that word mean?
Pyrolytic is
It's
like a
like-
self-cleaning oven.
So we'll get to ovens. We'll get there. We'll step by step. We'll get to ovens. See, ovens and stovetops and induction, glass microwave. That's all
Because
here.
no, the only reason I mention it is because of the libon.
So we'll get piece by okay. So that's libun chamor. Libun chamor is when you're burning something, and for libun chamor, the poskim say it has to go in the vicinity of 900 degrees, and in that sort of vicinity, like 850, 900 degrees. A real high. Now libun chamor you can't do on a lot of things just physically because they'll break. Ceramic you can never kasher ceramic, right? The halacha is that once ceramic has become treif, it can never become untreif. If it's chametzik, it can never become not chametz. But you could do libun on it. In other words, if you would take a blowtorch and blowtorch a ceramic plate, if it would survive, it would be kosher, right? And there are people who've done this. There are people who've put the ceramic into self-cleaning ovens. There are people who inherited China and things like this. And they said, we can't use it anyway, so let's just try. I know somebody did it, and it worked. They had whatever ceramic plates, and they got and they were able to kasher them that way. But that's libun chamor. Now, libun chamor is only necessary, right? You could do it on anything, right, if you wanted to, but it's only necessary on something that got its taste through a fire directly, right? So it's only going to be necessary on a grill or on an oven. Or maybe on a grate, on the stovetop grates, which we'll get to. That you don't really need it there, but we'll get a barbecue. That's what I mean when I say grill. That's what I mean.
In Remote Gimel, in the next 3 weeks, is there going to be like boys on corners? with
they'll be doing
torches?
it. Probably only within like a week or two before Pesach.
They're always there.
They come out. They come out like by Rosh Chodesh Nisan. They start coming out. With the blowtorches and the waters and all those things. But again, you have to make sure that they do it right. These are not poskim, these guys. You know what I mean? They're not. You have to make sure that they know what they're doing.
So how would they? So how do you do that? How do you,
well, if the kashering, when you're dipping something into the boiling water, you just have to make sure that the water is really boiling. You know what I mean? That it's a real good boiling boil.
And for libun,
for libun, as long as you're there and you see that they're doing it and it's turning reddish. Like it's really getting red hot. That's okay. But there's another process of libun which is called libun kal, which is literally means light libun, libun light. So libun kal does not need to get to the level of getting white hot or sparks. There, the Gemara says it's a level of kash nisraf, that if I would take straw and put straw up against this thing, the straw would wilt. So people say tissue paper is the same thing. If you have somebody make tissue paper in Israel. I just realized that, right?
They do in art shops.
In art shops, okay. You don't really see it.
Wrapping paper for your gifts.
Okay, so tissue paper, something very very fine like that. So if you would touch it to something and it would wilt, so that's called libun kal. So the poskim say
wilt but not catch on fire.
No, it does not need to catch on fire. It does not need to, even though the lashon is kash nisraf, it doesn't need to catch on fire. And for this, the poskim say 550 degrees for an hour in an oven. That counts as libun kal. Now, what does libun kal do? Right, it's not doing the same thing as libun chamor. It's not burning out the taste where it is. So the poskim basically say that anything that hagala works for, libun kal works for. Right. In other words, anything that you could do hagala on. A pot that you could boil up the water on and boil out the pot, and that'll work. So libun kal will work on that also. If you would take that pot and put it into your oven and leave it in your oven on 550 degrees for an hour, if your oven would go, not on self-cleaning, but on a very high setting for an hour, so libun kal works for that as well. Right? And anything that hagala works for, libun kal works for. However, there's a question about those few leniencies that we mentioned before, those leniencies that apply to libun over hagala. So we don't apply those leniencies when it comes to libun kal. In other words, you would need to wait the 24 hours. You shouldn't do it on Pesach itself, etc. This is
stovetop grates.
Okay, so we're going to get there. So we get there in a second. Okay, so these are the two processes now that we were going to talk about and apply to the following areas in the kitchen. We're going to talk about the oven, and when we talk about the oven, there's the oven itself, the actual walls of the oven, and then there's the grates that are inside the oven. The racks, or whatever you call it, grates, racks. Either one. Okay, racks on the oven. Then we have the stovetop.
How about the oven door?
Oven door. I'm concerned the inside of the oven, whatever that's the inside shetach, the inside area.
Your oven if you're not going to use it.
No. Anything that you're not going to be using for food, we discussed in the first couple of
shiur. I'm not using my oven. No. Can I just close it with the
You have to clean it really well.
Do you?
No, you don't have to clean it at all. Just make sure there's no food in there. Just make sure there's no food there. Yeah, no, you don't have to clean it at all. If you're not using it, you don't have to. Just make sure there's no food. You just have to make sure there's no.
But I don't have to take out the grain.
Nothing. You don't have to do anything at all.
Howard does this every year.
What about in case you might open it?
No, so close it off like all the other areas in your house that you're closing. So just close it off, and then you don't need to clean it.
We clean everything.
I have a huge oven.
I'm saying, if you have a refrigerator that you're going to seal off for Pesach, then you don't need to clean it. You know what I mean?
Were you talking about Fahrenheit or Celsius?
I'm talking Fahrenheit this whole time. Fahrenheit. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
We do Celsius.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Because
I'm sorry.
the paralytic paralytic
Yeah.
gets
Double,
to it's
I think.
the paralytic process is heated to over
Celsius.
400
No, that's for
Celsius.
sure. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Any
So
self-cleaning
you
oven
can't
is
even leave the racks and the trays
Well, you
inside.
can.
No, you have to
Yes, you
screw it all.
No,
You
I've
can't
done it
break.
before.
I know,
No, it doesn't break.
no,
They
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 came
won't
to my
last
house.
as long.
They said you cannot put them in, and so last
so
year
I've done it before.
David
too.
took it to
I
get
did the grace
blowtorched.
when I
Yeah,
had
but it
one.
won't
But
last as long.
they
as
said that you can't
They
leave
do.
the trays or the
Okay,
racks.
so I don't know.
Mine lasts
I don't know in terms of what's going to
years.
break it or not, but
Yeah.
that will kashrut
I
for
put,
sure.
I put the
400
grates,
degrees
the
Celsius,
stove
so for
grates
sure.
in,
It's
and the
more
oven
than
racks.
400.
Now I
Right,
have
no,
these
that's for
belly
sure.
ovens,
That's
so
for
I
sure
don't-
will kashrut. That's for sure.
When I-
You know, I don't know what will
Big
get
chunk
broken
should
in there or
be
not, but
20
that's.
years, so.
But yeah, I mean, even less than that. Okay, so let's talk about ovens. So again, so in an oven, again, there's two
How we
areas
won't
that we
let
need
this
to
thing.
address. There's the actual body of the oven, including the door and the walls of the oven, and then there's the oven racks that are inside. Okay, so let's just talk piece by piece. So now, what's wrong with an oven? Why do you need to kasher an oven at all? If I'm just heating up my food, so so the issue with an oven is like as follows. There's two potential problems, and now we're talking not just Pesach, just meat and milk, and any time. So we're going to just address the whole topic of ovens in general. There's two issues when it comes to an oven. Issue number one is that steam or splatter or spillage will get out of the pot or whatever food you have and get into the oven, right? Splatter will hit the walls of the oven, steam will fill up and get embedded into the walls of the oven, or it'll spill and there'll be spillage on the floor of the oven. Okay, but now you'll ask me, so what? So let's say there's some spillage or splatter or steam in my oven, so what's that going to do? So the issue is like this. The next time I go and use that oven, so let's say I just used a fleishig, I just baked a pan of chicken open in my oven, and big steamy pan of chicken. And it spilled and splattered and everything, right? And now I take it out, and now I put in a big lasagna, right? An open pan of lasagna. So the issue is like this. The issue that we're worried is that there's meat taste from my chicken that spilled into the floor of the oven. And now that my lasagna is in there, right, what's going to get the taste from the floor or the wall of the oven into my lasagna, right, is steam, right? The lasagna is going to get hot. There's a lot of liquid there. The lasagna is going to steam. That steam is going to build up in the oven. And the steam is going to make now a connection between the wall of the oven and the food that's going to let the taste, travel through. So that splatter, I just had a pan of chicken in there and it splattered chicken on the wall of my oven. Now I take the pan of chicken out and I put in the lasagna. My oven steams up. That steam creates a bridge, and now my lasagna is treif. Okay, so that's the issue with oven number one. Issue number two is the grates themselves, or the racks, whatever we're calling them. The oven racks, you also can have spillage on them. You can also have chicken grease that's spilled over there. And now it's much more direct. Now I'm just coming and putting my pan of lasagna directly on the rack where I just spilled chicken, and I can infect my lasagna with meat that way. Okay, so these are the two issues with an oven, is the steam buildup and the touching of the rack to the pan.
But it can't be more than a 60th of.
Oh, one second. Okay, one second. You're raising a good point. I don't want to lose
Depends how
the
much-
train of thought over a
how
second.
big
Okay,
it
you're
is.
making a good point, but I want to get back to it in a second. Okay, now, says Rav Moshe Feinstein the following, and this is, again, there's many different opinions about ovens, and many different levels of people, more strict, less strict, more lenient, all different things. I'm telling you, this is the Pesach that I've done, heard, and been following for many years. Moshe Feinstein says the following. He says that the issue of the racks is for sure an issue. In other words, a person has to, we're talking about now meat and milk before we get to Pesach. If you're going to use the same oven for milk and meat, you for sure have to make sure that the racks are covered with tinfoil for one or the other. Right? In other words, again, if you're you have a rack, and I had a pan of chicken that's there, so if I spilled some chicken out of my pan, and it's now on my grate, on my oven rack, and now I'm going to put a lasagna in there, so that lasagna I have to make sure that the rack is covered with tinfoil, right? And then, even if I spilled some chicken there, and even if some lasagna spills, so the lasagna is going to spill on the top part of the tinfoil, and the chicken's only on the bottom, right? We're not going to have a problem. Okay.
So let's say you just had two racks, and you're only
So
getting
if
one
you
oven.
switch
from
racks,
like
you have a milk
Yeah,
rack and a
the
flation rack, that's
floor-
fine,
that
that's
takes
fine,
care of
also as
kind
far
of
as the rack. Now,
just
but as
one
far
rack.
as the oven is concerned, what about the
Right.
taste and the splatter and all these things? So Moshe Feinstein said the following. It's really in the Shulchan Aruch, it speaks about this. It depends on the size of the oven, the physical volume of the inside of the oven. the full-sized American ovens, like this American oven, like 90 centimeters across or whatever it is, a big full-sized, full-depth American, not the European Israeli wall ovens, a full-size American oven, according to most poskim, you may use interchangeably for meat and milk, open within 24 hours without kashering, as long as you cover the racks.
Really?
Anybody on the WhatsApp group should know this already. Anybody on the halacha WhatsApp group should know this.
Say that again.
Okay, again,
Yeah,
make
please
this very
repeat.
clear. Yes, make this very clear.
I think I know this.
This is, yes.
But those are the big American,
A big American oven, not European, not
remember what
England,
they're
not
called.
America. Again, not everybody agrees with it. Again, not everybody says like this, and
Okay,
I'll explain to you where it's coming from in a
Moshe
second.
says it.
But this is Moshe Feinstein held like this. Many poskim held this way.
Within 24
So I'm going to explain right now. Again, an American oven, a full-size American oven, 90
They're
whatever
huge,
centimeters,
right?
they're very large. So it says you will never ever open up that oven and get hit with a billowing of steam. It will never happen. It will never happen. When you open up a microwave, yes,
And you have to
My
wait a
glass
the
second.
is
steam comes out, and in a microwave,
Nothing
steam
like
comes
that.
out.
Steam.
In a big American oven, especially when they have ventilation and fans like this,
Okay,
you will never have a
I'm gonna
buildup
see it. I'm
of
gonna
steam.
go see it.
So what that means is very simple, right? I have a pan of chicken. Let's say I'm messy. I put in my pan. I'm swishing it around. There's chicken splattering all over the place. So now there's chicken spattered all over the walls of my oven. But now when I put in my lasagna, there's no way for any of that spatter to get into my lasagna, right? In other words, there's some chicken here, there's some chicken there, maybe there's even some chicken up on the roof, unless it would drip in, but that never happens. You know what I mean? There's no steam that's building up and attaching that chicken to that lasagna, right? And this is what, again, the poskim say when it comes
Within
to
24 hours.
anything.
But that's a big oven.
a big
So you don't have
full-sized
to
American
You
oven.
don't have to kasher the oven?
No, we're not talking about
Between
Pesach.
meat
We're not talking
and
about Pesach.
milk.
No, yeah,
Generally.
meat and milk. No, yes, no. In the Rosenstein home,
same
we
ovens of
use-
meat and milk.
Yes,
That's
we use
crazy.
Wait, go on.
I'm saying in the Rosenstein home, we have one American, a GE, whatever American oven
Yeah,
that we
the
moved here
Maytag,
with. That we one of those things, and we use it for meat and milk in the same afternoon, open. But okay, fine. This is
Wow.
okay. It was worth it to come down tonight. It
I'm
was
not
worth it to come
eating
down
your
tonight.
I'll tell my
It's,
husband.
It's no, but this is not a wild thing. It's not a wild thing. But again, there's only
my
full
kids
time.
have one Israeli oven. They don't
No,
have
Israeli oven is completely different. No, it's completely different.
so
There
now
you
let's
have the
talk
real
power.
issue of the steam and stuff like that. Okay, so 1 second.
So let's get to that.
1 second. So now we're talking about meat and milk. Now, when a person moves into okay, so that's the story. So using an oven interchange. But what about going into Pesach? So going into Pesach, we're more careful, like we said. When it comes to chametz, chametz even b'mashu, right? Even for a tiny amount, is going to be a problem. So there's no question that we kasher our ovens for Pesach, even if technically it's possible that you could bake in an oven that wasn't kashered and it wouldn't make the food chametzik, right? As opposed to a pot where it for sure would. I was going to repeat that again. Let's say somebody calls me up. They went home to their family who's not so religious, who's trying to keep Pesach this year, whatever, but they cooked something in their chametzik pot. So there's no question you can't eat it. There's no question about it. But they tell me that they heated up a chicken soup in a chametzik oven that wasn't kashered, but it's clean inside. It may not aser b'diavad. You hear what I'm saying? In other words, an oven is a lot more because it really doesn't. The steam does not really attach in that way. An oven is a lot more lenient than a pot, right? Okay. So, however, we certainly do kasher ovens. No question about it. And you have to. Everybody watching this, you have to. We certainly do kasher ovens. There's no question. But as for what's necessary to do it, so the poskim say like this: for sure, to do a self-cleaning cycle, kashers even for Pesach, for everything. That's fine. A person who runs a self-cleaning cycle on their oven. The one thing the poskim say you should be careful about are the in the oven doors, the places where the joints are, where the parts of the oven meet. So it could be the self-cleaning doesn't get as hot in that, so that you should wash carefully with St. Moritz or whatever this,
Also, like
abrasive.
the glass of the oven, the door doesn't necessarily get like.
Yeah, so you
How
should
it's
wash. Yeah, you should
doesn't
wash that
do.
with a very abrasive cleanser, St. Moritz, whatever
Wait,
they
so
have.
now you're talking about Israeli, I mean, American
Well, any
ovens that have self-clean.
any oven, any
So
oven.
now
any
oven
oven.
will self-clean.
Right.
Any self-cleaning ovens. That's number one.
most
That's number one.
ovens in
one.
Israel that are
So
sold
did
are
you
not
change the
self-cleaning ovens.
No, we didn't. We should.
Okay, so that's one. So that's
Okay.
so self-cleaning is obvious. You do the self-cleaning, and anything that you put into the oven while it's going through the cycle is also kashrut. That's lidun chum. Now, if you have an oven that's not self-clean,
And it's
so
an Israeli.
or an Israeli
Yeah.
size or an Israeli size, for any oven, I'm saying we kasher all ovens.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
even a full size oven, we're going to clean it. So the halacha is like this: if you can get a guy to come in with a blowtorch, then you can do a blowtorch, and then you don't have to wash it out so well. You don't have to deal with all those things that you're doing libun chamur on your oven. But if not, so then it's similar to what we said by Hagala, right? You have to do a very, very thorough cleansing, right? You have to clean the whole oven out very thoroughly, all the joints, all the areas, any place that you can't get to or can't get clean, you have to use abrasive cleansers that make it completely, that the taste is out, and then you have to burn it out on the the highest level that you can get to, for a couple of hours. And that kashers out your oven, right? And the mechanism
Definitely
again,
for 2 hours.
again, the mechanism is not libun chamur. You're not doing the same thing that the Lubavitch guy does on your grill, right? It doesn't get that hot, but this is libun kal.
Question: if I don't want to take the racks to the guys to blowtorch them because they warped it last time and finally it's gone back to normal, if they're thoroughly clean with a wire wool, and can you put it into the oven on like 290, which I think is the highest without pyrolytic? 290.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes,
is
yes.
290 is like over 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it would need to be 250. Yeah, 290.
So
it would need to be 550.
it would be
for an hour.
550.
Yeah, 550
so
for an hour.
550 for an hour is good
would
enough.
be libun kal on those grades. Yes.
And then you can use it over Pesach?
Yes,
Or
yes.
But
yeah,
don't you
then.
need to cover it with foil and?
No, if it's kashered out, you're kashering it, right? You're washing it. You're washing it thoroughly, and then you're doing libun kal on it. Yes.
You don't have to put foil in the oven?
If it's kashered.
Yeah.
If it's
You're
kasher,
talking
it's
about the
kasher.
racks
The
now.
racks.
You're saying the racks and the trip.
Right now we're talking about the racks. This question was about the racks.
like the things that are on the side and
the sliding
silver
out, yeah, the
things.
silver things. Yeah, here we go.
This and these.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
But sometimes they're actually very difficult to clean because it's all
So that
like,
could be. Then you would need to do
So
libun
what
chamor.
can you do to
Then you would need a
them?
blowtorch. If you can't get it clean, then you have to
But they're
libun
not
chamor.
screwed.
That's
But if you're
uh,
not going to use it,
no. They're just
No,
I'm
lock
you
it
not
in
can't.
as
this
soon
for my
as.
husband to hear. If you're not going to
If
use
you're not
it,
going to use it, you tell them to tune in at
Don't-
31 minutes, 25 seconds. If you're not
31
going to use it,
minutes,
just
25
close it
seconds.
and don't open it for Pesach, and you don't have to clean it.
So otherwise you
But
can
but what if
paint them to be blue.
there's, I mean, my husband isn't.
You
my
could put all of
oven
your
isn't
Pesach,
doing,
you
but-
could put all your chametz stick dishes into your oven and leave them there for Pesach. You could use it for storage. I'm saying you just.
No, I'm saying like,
Could I too?
so by what mechanism is it not chametz stick? If we're trying to clean out all
Because
chametz, if it's
maybe at the
chametz
end I'll
in
tell you we
oven,
gave a whole
do you know
shiur.
what I
The whole first year was about like Pesach
you
cleaning
can
and what.
listen
Yeah.
to it.
So
Listen.
we covered this then.
So let's say it's not Pesach and you want to go between milchik and fleishik in an Israeli oven.
Okay, so an Israeli oven, so it's not so simple. Then you have to one of
Let's say
them.
you have two grates.
Yeah, so the grates issue you have to take care of, and then you have to just make sure that there's no steam infection happening, which means that if the fleishig, let's say you cook fleishig open in there, so that there's fleishig embedded into the walls, then you would not be allowed
so
to
either-
cook dairy
right, so
open.
dairy
You would have to
open or
keep it
closed,
closed.
right, okay, I forgot
As far as
about
closed, there's this, people say double wrapping. There's no halacha of double wrapping. I don't know where it came from. It's like there's two brachos of shalosh manos.
I found a quote in the
Wait, I thought you have to
Lubavitch.
do
There was a
two brachos.
Oh, yeah,
Lubavitch
it's
thing
in-
over Purim that was in the thing that said about the two brachos.
and it had a source though. It had like an early source.
No,
of
it
it,
didn't
or-
have a source. But
Oh, it was just saying. Well, a lot of people are taught it in school, but yeah, there's no source. I'm telling you, there's no source. Okay. Anyway, so it doesn't have to be double wrapped. It just has to be wrapped enough, based on what we're saying, right? What's the mechanism? The mechanism is that there's going to be a steam bridge between my food and the meat in the pot.
Okay, but how
So
about the
if-
pot? Don't you? The
No,
reason
that's the
why I would
grate.
think
That's
the
the
double.
grate.
No, but I
Yeah.
would think that the steam even on the outside of the pot.
But it has to be wrapped enough that you're not allowing enough steam to escape to make that bridge. That's the idea. So if you wrap it once with tinfoil and a little steam escapes here and a little steam
Yeah.
escapes there, that's not filling up the oven and creating a steam bridge. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The case in the Shulchan Aruch that talks about covered is covered with dough. that's the case. It's not talking about hermetically sealed. It's talking about a meat pie that's covered with dough in a dairy oven, right? So whatever not chatchila to do, etc. But the Shulchan Aruch says if no steam of the meat escapes, right? So then it's okay, even though So the halacha is you have to be very careful. I'll just tell you, in a microwave oven, it does steam up, and if you don't wrap up something well and you heat it up a lot in a microwave, for sure. I've been in a motel when I'm traveling for the school, and I brought food with me, and I wrap it up in paper, and I heat it up too much, and it pops, and then the whole thing fills up with steam, and then you really can't eat it. Then it's really becoming it's becoming tricky. So you have to make sure that it's covered when you're going between meat and milk, but it does not have to be hermetically sealed. Doesn't have to be double wrapped. Doesn't have to be
Does it
anything.
even like if you let's say you're deciding that you're going to have the fleischiks uncovered, but milchiks you'll cover. But if let's say it's a cake, so there's no liquid, the liquid's going to become a solid. It's not going to continue to be bubbling. In that case, it has to be covered.
Again, there's no. The halacha is you can't have steam. There can't be a steam interaction that's going on. So if you're
the steam comes from a liquid.
Well, there's liquid in the cake.
I don't know. My smaller oven, which I use for milk, I had in there some vegetables this morning, and when I opened the door,
vegetables. I wouldn't. I don't know. I think people, especially in the smaller ovens, I don't think people cook open, the opposite. But I don't know. Maybe we'll question for my wife.
Can we? Sorry, just the oven racks for Pesach.
The oven
again.
Racks. Okay.
The
yes.
racks for Pesach. So you're either saying they have to be clean and 550 for like an hour.
Yes.
Or you have to blow
or
torch
leave one.
them.
Yes, correct.
So how do you get them blow torch?
You bring it to those guys. Bring it to the guys at the traffic
On the
circles.
street.
But you said you're not sure if they do it.
No, you just have to watch and make sure they're doing it right. You just have to watch so that they blow torch it and they go over it.
Is it better to buy new racks so you don't have to go to that?
No. There's a whole siman in Shulchan Aruch about how to kasher things because we kasher things.
No, because I'm like.
I might be asking the same question, but so I've had my oven, put it on a paralytic clean, but I take the racks out because it doesn't really allow us to.
Right.
So then I put it back in the oven with.
Do you have to wait 24 hours before you put those back in the oven?
From what?
Wait, you've now kashered your oven pyrolytically for Pesach, and then you're putting in these racks that you haven't kashered for Pesach.
Oh, so
don't put them in then.
Before you put it back in.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You're kashering them by putting them in the oven at 550.
No, so first you put the racks on.
Oh, you're kashering them in that same oven. Oh, I see what you're saying.
So what do you do?
No, I think if they're clean and everything from before, I think that's okay. Let me double check that, but I think that's fine. If they're clean in 24 hours.
I'm going to show you what this is after a year, okay, of use, and this is last Pesach. These are not even so dirty, okay? But these bits, I use wire wool here for the video purposes. You may show your students wire wool, and we clean all this off till it's back to normal, shiny metal. And then
so I feel like I can't always clean it all
boiling
off.
water over it with soap and everything, and
you
then
can keep your racks in the oven.
But usually we get them blowtorched.
Blowtorching is the best. You can get a blowtorch, that's the best. If you want to, you're asking me just in terms of when to put it in the oven to do
my oven would be kosher for Pesach because I would have cleaned it pyrolytically. Okay.
Now here, I have to find out whether to do the grates before or after.
If you can put the grates in during the paralytic cycle,
that's for sure fine.
Is that enough, even if they're not spotlessly clean before?
Yeah. That's libun chamor. Anything that's in the self-cleaning cycle is perfect.
What if it's only
brand new.
What if it doesn't get too?
Well, that's not self-cleaning then. A self-cleaning cycle is libun chamor. Any self-cleaning cycle that.
Sorry, I didn't get to finish my question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I put the oven on paralytic clean. Then go back to put the racks in, but this time at the highest temp that the racks can take. It's done, everything's done, 2 hours, whatever.
Right.
Then that's it.
That's what he was saying. You have to check when you put
No, just
the
with the
racks.
question of the racks. I just want to double check.
What I do usually is I do all of that, and then I cover everything with foil. And it's so annoying.
No, I don't think you need to cover it with foil. Once it's kashrut,
I've
it's
done
kashrut.
that every year.
No,
we don't.
I'm waiting for so tough.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so that way we've covered ovens, the inside of ovens, the racks of ovens.
No foil.
If you kashrut it, you don't need foil. No, you don't need. If you kashrut, you don't need foil.
Because it comes off.
Okay, so now when we're talking about the top of the oven, so there's a few different things that we have to address here. There's the well. Okay, first let's talk about gas burners for start. We're not talking about induction or glass.
Okay. But gas burners, some have glass tops.
No, so
and
not
some have metal.
glass. No glass. Just a regular gas burner with metal
we'll get to
metal things. We'll get to glass in a second. regular metal. So basically, what you have over there, is the fire there on the bottom. And then you have this piece, this metal tripod, whatever to call it, this metal piece that the pot sits down on top of. So again, what's the issue that we have is that while I'm cooking fleischig or milchig, or let's say chametz, so the chametz is going to spill over my pot and get onto this little metal piece and get cooked into there from the fire. And now when I'm going to put a pan there on Pesach or some other time, now that taste is going to travel and go from the pan into my pot. So that's the issue. Now, for a number of reasons, it's not a huge issue in halacha for a few reasons. First of all, the poskim say that any spillage that happens, gets burnt up right away because it's right there by the fire. Secondly, there's a whole separate topic, not a separate topic, it's actually this topic, but I can't get into the whole topic of this. But the halacha is that ein blios yotzin mikli lekli below rotev, that taste does not jump from one utensil to another without liquid. Meaning, is this an empty cup here?
No, but I'll get you
almost.
an empty.
Is it okay if I just do this? Fine.
Yes.
Meaning, if this is a pot of a milchig cream of mushroom soup, and this is a cholent pot, and they're both burning hot on the stove, and they touch like this, there's nothing wrong, and no taste will transfer. If liquid gets in between, then the liquid becomes a medium that will allow the taste to jump from one to the other. So the same thing applies with putting things down, on a countertop or on a rack in the oven. Also, it's the same thing, that even if I have a fully fleischig rack, let's say I did again that pan of chicken splattered all over the place, but I washed off the rack, so there's no actual chicken there, but it's all full of chicken taste, right? This rack is fully, if I would fry up cheese on this rack, it would be treif, right? It'll be chickeny cheese, right? But if I have a lasagna pan and I put that lasagna pan on the rack and I cook it there, as long as no liquid gets in between, my lasagna will not be affected. Okay, now there's a question whether I'm allowed to do that lechatchila or not, meaning, I can't lechatchila put something down there relying on the fact that if no liquid gets there, it'll be good after the fact. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. You can't take the chance. But lemaisa, it won't make something treif after the fact. And even this, the poskim say, just a little drop of liquid or a little spill of liquid is not even enough. It has to be a significant amount of liquid to facilitate the movement of the taste. Okay, so now for these reasons already, we have that if my oven, my stovetop thing, whatever you call that thing, grates, are fully treif or fully chametz. If I would put a dry pot down on top of it on Pesach, it wouldn't become treif, right? Because the taste wouldn't travel. However, obviously we have to be careful. Things spill, and we have to be. So the poskim say to kasher those. What you do is as follows. This is what we do at home. It's a pretty simple process, but you have like that disc over here. Ah, beautiful, perfect. Oh, okay. This is not going to be as easy with this, but okay. You take the disc. All these pieces you take apart and clean well, and whatever. You clean these very well. And any food that falls on Pesach, don't eat. You know what I mean? If food falls in there, you just throw it out. Now, it won't work with this. What I want to show, what we do at home is we have individual pieces like this.
This is
iron, and we flip it. See, it won't land. It won't fit on this. What I do at home is we take this piece. We flip it upside down so it balances on the
and you burn
and then I turn on the highest fire for 10-15 minutes.
But you could just blowtorch this.
Yeah, you
right?
could blowtorch this also. That's it. You could blowtorch it.
Or stick it in your oven.
Or put it. Well, then apparently it works. They say it works.
It has rubber
coating,
pieces.
I ruined one that way.
Yeah, people say that it gets ruined that way, and I know people bought a separate.
So we usually cover this with foil. I mean, the thick foil. I spend hours
If you blowtorch it, then you don't need to do anything. If you blowtorch it, it's done. I'm saying if you
blowtorch it, we don't have to cover it with foil.
It's done.
But you
Blowtorch is fresh. It's brand new from the store.
Blowtorching it is like putting it on here upside down.
No, that's libun kal. Upside down is more like libun kal, but that's enough for this. It's enough for this
we
anyway.
could do on
Libun kal is enough for the
grapes?
stovetop. Yes.
Lieben kal is enough for the stove
Yes,
top?
for the stovetop is also good. This type of libun kal,
So
they say
you
to
could
put
just
it.
get your blowtorch and just do.
Again, blowtorch is libun chamor. When we do the real blowtorch, that's libun chamor.
No, but I'm saying, let's say you held the blowtorch not as close where the blue flame is, but further away, and you just did a quick.
I don't know. I don't know what the heat transference rules well enough to know. I don't know. I don't know if that. Usually the blowtorch is doing libun chamor. They don't do libun kal. When they do the blowtorch, they do the blowtorch. and that's enough.
So you turn yours
But,
upside down, you should put everything on high for 5 minutes.
12. No, I don't do it all at the same time. It could start a fire and it gets very, very high. Do one at a time, just one at a
Does
time.
this mean if it's like a very small one?
Well, so
After
our
you
oven, we've got
clean
like a
the-
big one, a small one, and 2 medium ones. So I
Right.
put them all on the big one. In other words, I take each one and I
But
put
you're
it on
saying the squarey bit is what, about like half of that?
Yeah, exactly half of that, basically. Yeah.
And then
so,
you just
so I
put
flip
some-
it over and then turn on the fire. So the fire. Some people, I don't think I don't do this, but some people will take like a piece of tin foil and put it on top
My husband
to like keep the heat inside. Okay, that's fine to do. I mean,
So
so
how long
I
do you have
do
to
it.
put it?
10, 12 minutes, something
10,
like
12
that. Yeah,
minutes.
something like that. That's fine.
So the other piece is the silver and the black flat piece. You
So
just
they
need to
just
clean
want,
it.
yeah, just wash it very well, and if food goes there on Pesach, then don't
So
eat it. I mean,
basically, we
that's,
don't need foil. This.
No. So where do you need foil? No. Where you do need foil
So
is
we
the rest of the
balance it.
surfaces of your stovetop. In other words, the area in between the burners. I mean, I don't know, depending on what your
If it's
setup is
stainless
like.
steel,
No,
can't
then you
you
can
just
kasher it. Yeah, if it's stainless steel, then you
pour
kasher
boiling
it. Yes,
water?
absolutely.
Yeah, but then
No,
when it
because
go into
water
the boy, it
gets
goes into
inside
your
the
gas
element,
part.
right.
So if you can do it, be careful.
Turn it
Seal.
off and clean
Stuff
it.
in
Oh, yeah.
towels or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. If you kasher it, you can kasher it.
Wait, so how do you
Um,
kasher that? The flat part?
Well, if you can, we don't kasher it at home. At home, we cover that with heavy duty tin foil. We're like 2 layers of heavy duty
You
tin
can
foil.
buy
and,
the shaped thing that goes over
we wash it obviously
now.
well. You wash it super well and scrub it so that
And
there's
then
nothing
where
there.
you
And
cut
then
out
you
holes.
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
the actual stovetop where
Where you
again
buy the
depending on what you
shape
have.
for
Like
the
we have
inside,
an
you
American
cover the
oven
other
with
part.
4 burners on the top.
Yeah.
So the burners we said you flip over and you burn out. But that area in between where you put stuff down, so you have to just wash it well. You can't really kasher it unless here it's metal, so you can
What
kasher
area
it.
in between where you put
Well, I guess it
stuff down?
depends if you have it or not. But like
But the
our
second
stove
one,
has like a
that
burner here, a
should
burner here, a burner here, and a burner
rooms.
here, and then like a
Maybe
white
back
area
one
in
or
between
two
where you can like put a pot down or
Yeah, that's what
you
we
know,
So what do you do to that?
just cover it with tin foil. Cover it like a double heavy duty tin foil and clean it well. Obviously, beforehand clean it very well.
If you do your method of turning the grate over and burning it, then does the burning count for like the far corners of
Well,
around?
yeah, because it's enough that the whole thing gets to a libun kal degree. You're not doing white hot. It's enough that they say. I tested it once. It really didn't get enough that tissue paper didn't singe from from the end of it when I tested it. But again, the poskim say because it's really like it's like almost a chumrah on a chumrah over here because it really it's probably all burned up anyway right away. There's anything that drips there anyway gets burnt up from the fire. So it's okay. So that's as far as the oven. As far as the stovetop area goes, the only place you definitely need. Glass is very problematic. Yes, it's very problematic. The only way that you could for sure kasher glass is with a blowtorch, which they say will ruin it. Right, that's what they say. So I haven't seen anywhere that said that a glass is. Have you done it before? I'm saying.
No, when I didn't realize this when I bought it.
Yeah,
so now
they say it's,
I don't bother
Right.
kashering my oven. I bought a big, huge toaster oven,
And just
and
put it on
I
top
bought
and,
burners
exactly
that don't work, and I use those.
Yeah, so no, glass is a
so we have
problem.
4 burners.
Um,
But
You just said they do. Do they not work?
They don't work. No, I bought electric burners that it takes
A long time.
about 5 times the amount of time to cook.
So induction,
So
I
it's-
also looked into it. Induction
for a
is
week, I
actually
just
very interesting.
do
An
everything.
induction top is just like a countertop. In other words, because it doesn't get hot on its own, because it only gets hot from the pot, right? So you just kasher it with irui. In other words, you just kasher it and it's fine.
Really?
Oh, wait, what
Totally, yeah.
happens?
But
so
it's
when you need to
glass, Rabbi
kasher?
Moshe.
It's glass. I thought it was metal. The
Here.
induction top.
You wanna
Yeah, let me
see?
see. Yeah, let me see. Should we come and see?
Last
Big
year we
camera?
just
Yes, gas, halachot live.
Okay.
This,
It's a glass top.
and induction is all glass. So like if I turn this on, okay, it won't work. It won't even get
Right.
hot.
No, I understand. It only gets hot from
And if I put
the.
my pot here, this is an induction pot. You can hear it because it has magnets inside. Okay,
Understood. Okay, I didn't realize it's glass. It's actual
it's
glass.
glass. It must be. What else is there?
Okay, I don't know. When I
This
was
is
looking
glass
around
and
today,
this
I saw
is
that you could kasher the induction service.
Now, look,
But it's hot from the pot. Yeah.
it's hot here. Just
Right.
here. Not, you can touch it. It never gets hot, like too hot.
Right.
So what does that mean? We can't use it.
It
In a
depends
house full of people, like
what
15
that surface is. The story is an induction
Just
top is as
oven.
follows. If it's a metal
I don't
I can
know.
tell you 'cause I
plate.
can look it up.
So
I
it's
use a big
glass, and
toaster
it
oven
can't be
that doesn't
kasher
work
because it's
either.
glass. But an induction
It
top,
takes
basically
twice
the way
the
it is,
time.
it's just a flat metal, and through magnetism, it energizes the pot, which cooks the food inside of it, and the pot gets hot from the food, and the surface gets hot from the pot. So there's no fire. There's no fire that's taking place on an induction top. So the halach is that you can kasher it just by irui. The same way that you would kasher a countertop, because an induction
You pour boiling water?
You pour boiling water on it. If it's glass, then it might be a separate issue that you can't kasher because it's glass.
Yeah, so what do you do?
That you cannot kasher because
In
it's metal or
induction
glass.
It's glass.
No, so if it's glass,
But
that's
maybe
a
it's
separate
not,
issue.
because
I'd
that's
like
the
to see-
thing. Let's see what it is.
It will be the same as yours.
No, for sure.
They don't have metal induction
No.
pads. It's all glass
No, it's
tops.
just glass.
They look like
That's
glass.
interesting.
They look like glass.
It
I
It
mean,
looks like glass, but it might not be glass.
What else could it
See.
be?
right.
Not sure. Let's
Definitely
see.
Do you cover on the stove the knobs and everything also, or do you just wash them and?
I think we just wash them very well. We soak the knobs. I remember we pry off and we like soak them in
Right.
ammonia or something, like soak them overnight or something for a long time. And then no, we
But you
cover the
don't
whole
go
front.
with,
and
you don't go
everything.
with the putting socks on top of your faucets.
No, we don't do
and-
the. Don't do
And I
that.
have a question:
What?
is it acceptable in Israel to use one oven for milk and meat?
I hope so.
No, I mean I've never of people.
What, generally?
The only
Well,
people
most
I've ever
ovens are not
seen
American
do it.
ovens. I'm saying most people have here small Israeli ovens, so that's not
Right.
really nogea. But for
they
people
don't have
that have
space for
American
two.
ovens, they do it. I'm saying this is not like some wild kula of
But they- right.
This is like I think pretty pretty standard.
Because I never saw. I guess I never saw anyone in America do it either. Use the
in a
one
big,
oven.
really
Yeah.
okay,
I never
fascinating.
saw it.
You never saw it?
I
No
never
kidding.
saw
I never
it.
saw
When
it
I was
either.
traveling.
Okay, I hope I'm not.
It was either you just
these
don't
guys
have
are-
it.
I've never put
ceramic.
dairy in my oven.
It's ceramic.
I
on
had
top?
one
It
oven
says
and then I
It's not
had
ceramic.
a
ceramic
big
surface.
oven, but now I have two.
Maybe there's elements.
On which the meal cannot be held.
Dairy
Uh-huh.
in my flesh.
Yeah, the company.
He would like it had to be in 25 things of
Fascinating.
foil,
Ceramic hobs
and
with
just assume the whole.
induction.
He would like.
Or they
Ceramic.
kasher it in between.
Ceramic,
like
yeah,
they-
you can't kasher
Then we would not be able to be kasher.
Right, and
But one second, but
Have
you
like a
can
week
use
of
it
dairy.
through you can cover it though. Can't you
You
just?
can't have
Right, so I used
anything
to know the halachos
between
'cause I
your
used them. I
pot
don't
and
use
the
them anymore
surface
because I
because it
have
has to
ovens.
connect.
I thought you could. I thought you could like fold up a piece of paper and it'll still work.
No, I don't think so.
I-
I never
I would-
tried.
We'll test it. I think you
Okay.
can.
You've got
I think it can. I think
something
it goes
to
through. The
stand there.
magnetism goes through. Okay. Anyway, I just want to finish up. We have only
Yeah.
a couple minutes left to go over here. So that's it as far as induction. Okay, it makes a difference what that surface is. But I definitely saw today. I was just looking around online. I definitely saw that the postscript said that you can kasher the induction surface. So it could just be that it's a matter of what it's made out of. I'll double check that also, because that's that glass stove tops. Like I said, I also have not seen anybody who says you can kasher it except with a thing. Okay, now microwaves.
That's
Microwaves. For Pesach, let's just leave that out for a second. Let's say microwaves during the year. So for sure, microwaves are problematic, because they.
It's definitely ceramic.
Ceramic
it says
surface.
it like in a million places.
Right. Okay, but it also when they say ceramic, you have to know what it means. Also, if it's like
Right.
if it's like some sort of an artificial ceramic, it could be you could kasher it. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll have to look into it.
Just don't do it.
So
Microwaves.
thank you. Right. So during the year, like we were saying before, microwaves certainly fill up with steam. So there's no question a microwave needs to be, can become treif and needs to be kashered. Now, for a lot of years, I used to tell people that you can't kasher microwaves, and I used to hold that you couldn't kasher them and everything. But then, I don't know, since the past couple of years, I spoke to Rav about it a number of times, and he's lenient on it. So I turned, except on Pesach, I'm still not comfortable with it. But basically, to kasher microwave, what you have to do is the same thing. The way that the taste got in there, you have to pull it out. And since the way that the taste gets in a microwave is through steam, so you have to steam up the inside of a microwave in order to draw out the taste. But you also have to follow the regular rules of washing it and letting it sit for 24 hours. So, kashering a microwave, when you come into like a motel or something, it doesn't usually work unless you're going to be staying there for a couple of days, because you have to first wash it out thoroughly, which you don't necessarily want to do in some motel room, and then you have to let it sit for 24 hours. So for milchs and fleishigs and stuff during the year, so you wash it out, and then you take a cup of water. You put it down in there, and you just let it go until it thoroughly boils up. I've heard poskim that say you need to move the cup, and do it again. I asked Rav Weiss, he said he does not hold you need to do that. Just to put the cup in there and let it steam it out. The truth that I didn't ask him, it could be it could be he holds that you could do it for Pesach as well. So I'm not going to be machmir on you for no reason. I'll try to ask him. Hopefully he's coming back this week. I'll try to ask him. But so far I have not been lenient in terms of kashering microwaves for Pesach. But during the year, and again, if you have only one microwave at home and you want to use it for fleishik, so then the milchig you would have to cover in such a way that the steam is not going to come out and go.
And you have to wait a day.
To kasher it, you have to wait. I'm saying if you're using it back and forth with open fleishik and closed dairy, you just have to make sure that the dairy is closed, that it's not going to steam.
Which is very
I don't
difficult to
know,
do in a
double
microwave
wrap,
because
Don't understand which, right?
Yeah, I had another
You
question.
can, but it's really
it's
not
more
good to double
kashrut.
wrap. First of all, you
Ah.
use the saran wrap.
Steam
It shouldn't
ovens.
be.
Or
I have
plastic
a steam
bags.
oven. It is steam.
Yeah,
You
but
put
even
a jug
plastic
of
shouldn't
water
be
in.
like
It's a
I don't
special
do it,
jug.
but I'm saying
And then
every
the
day,
oven
but
gets,
mine
the
is just
water
melted
heats
down.
up and it
Also-
shoots out
And it can
the steam into the oven and it steams food. So I've never used it on Pesach, but I assume that I can kasher it by steaming it.
I would assume if you would put it on its highest steam
Steam
setting.
cycle.
I would assume. I think I just had
Didn't
actually
we also
something
get
here.
I've
I've
never
got
used it.
I don't use it on Pesach
What,
because
a
I've
convection
never
oven?
asked.
No, it's like
The steam oven, yeah.
But we have a similar
That's
oven.
so cool.
I know.
I love my steam oven.
Do you use it?
Rice, chicken, fish, vegetables. You steam
It's like a
food.
steamer.
I never steam chicken.
How
Very
do you
healthy.
steam rice in the oven? You have to add water to it anyway,
Put
right?
it in with water.
Yeah, okay, it's quite a question of steam. That's interesting.
You
Okay,
can do
I'll
that
look
in a
it
normal
up.
oven.
Did you know?
They don't
Yeah,
have
my
a
mum
normal
Okay, any other
oven.
questions? We're ready to
Yeah,
cash in the
nice.
kitchen.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Planta for
Do you like-
Shabbos.
Planta for
yeah.
Shabbos.
Clean and
Yeah,
cover.
you definitely have to clean it, super thoroughly well.
Because we were told that our hostess trolley, which is in there, if you open the cupboard, you can see it.
Right.
Yeah. So we were told that has to be like
What is that?
completely cleaned out inside, and it's covered with
Yeah.
oil anyway all the
Yeah, I
time.
think
And then
It's not an
pour
oven,
boiling
it's just
water on
heat.
it.
It's a heat
I'm not
treat.
sure why they said to pour boiling water, and then to turn it up for like 2 hours. Just turn it on for like
just
2
to
hours.
burn it
Yeah,
out.
but it only gets to a
It's
certain
like a hot
temperature.
tray.
It's not.
Right, but I get, the idea
close
is something like that
Yeah.
is that,
It's like an
the hottest that the taste ever
It's
got
like
in
a
will get
hot
out
plate
to
in
the
a
box,
temperature.
so
Yeah,
that's-
It's not a
They
source
don't
of
get-
heat.
yeah,
You
it's
couldn't
not
you
really a
couldn't put a
cooking.
raw
It's not
chicken
really
in
a
there
cooking
to,
thing anyway. You know what I mean?
to
It's-
cook.
Sorry?
It's like a warming. It's a warming.
Yeah,
He's
it's like a
warming.
warming.
Okay, yeah,
But
give me
I
that.
just-
That's
But enough to.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I
But it
so
stays
I
a
use regular
constant
an electric
temperature,
pot,
so
Yeah.
and then I just spray it down
Yeah,
with cool air,
right.
and then
Yeah,
I
one of
put the
these
really
things.
thick.
Yeah.
I put
Tin
double.
foil
I
on it,
put
yeah.
double tin foil
That's
on
fine.
it,
Yeah.
and then I just use
That's
it for
fine.
warming.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to kasher a pot. That would.
No.
How do you use that on Shabbos? What do you do?
Just plug it in.
It's like a hot plate, but
It
with
just
the-
stays-
It's like a hot
stays-
plate
it
in a
stays-
cabinet form, right? It's like a.
But
right.
because
not
it's
as hot as a
closed,
hot
that
plate,
doesn't create a different situation?
No.
It
Halachic?
stays at a constant temperature?
It's made by a Jewish company and it actually has a husky.
Did you do fridges already?
So the drawers.
We did fridges, yeah, the first
Okay,
week. Yeah,
so
I'm
I'm
washing it out.
dangerous to
Okay.
No.
Okay.
What
so
was the
that's-
verdict with the hot